Today we're going to be doing Unit 2, Notes 10. So we're going to be talking about writing systems with elimination. So let's go ahead and let's take a look at what this is going to look like. Reading the first one, Dante spent $11.25 on 3 new and 4 old comic books. Samantha spent $15.75 on 10 old and 3 new ones. Write a system of 2 equations that would represent how much money each person spent. So first thing we need to do is assign our variables. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to let X represent new and Y represent old. So for Dante, and that's going to be the price. So for Dante, he bought 3 new comic books at price X. He bought 4 old comic books at price Y, and that was equal to $11.25. Now notice the next sentence could confuse you a little bit because notice they did old first and then new. Remember that X represents the price of new comic books. So for every X new book, she bought 3 of them at price X, okay? Then taking a look at price Y, okay, so price Y for old books, she bought 10 of them, and that was equal to $15.75. So now this is set up to use elimination. Okay, I notice that my X's both have a 3, but what I don't have is opposite signs. So I'm going to take this second equation and I'm going to multiply it by a -1. So the top equation is going to stay the same. The bottom equation I'm going to go through and change the signs of everything, which in this case is going to make it all be negative. So then I get -3x minus 10y is equal to 1575. So now I notice that I have the same number opposite signs, so I can go ahead and add down the columns. So my x's are going to cancel. 4y minus 10y is going to be -6y. 11.25 plus a -15.75 is going to give me a -4.5. So then I'm going to go ahead and divide both sides by a -6. -4.5 divided by a -6 is 0.75. Now that's going to represent the price. But remember that we talked about the price of new or old textbooks for Y, sorry, old comics. So it's going to be 75 cents for old comics. Now let's go ahead and let's take a look at plugging that back in to get x. So I have the original equation, 3x plus 10 is equal to 1575. And remember, you can really plug it in to any equation. So I'm going to take that and I'm going to substitute the x out, and I'm going to put 0.75 in instead, and that's going to give me this equation right here. So I have 3x plus 0.75, or plus 10 times 0.75 is equal to 1575. So first thing I'm going to do is multiply 10 by 0.75, and that gives me 7.5 is equal to 15.75. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to subtract 7.5 from both sides, and I get that 3x is equal to 15.75 minus 7.5, which is 8.25. So now I am going to divide both sides by 3, and then when I do that I end up getting x is equal to 8.25 divided by 3, which is going to be 2.75. So it's $2.75 for new comics. Okay? Next, let's go ahead and let's take a look at number 2. It says that the sum of 2 numbers is 12. So that means if I take 2 numbers and multiply them together, that is hard to see. Give me 1 second. If I take 2 numbers and add them together, they're going to equal 12. Then it says the difference of the same 2 numbers, which means when you subtract them, is going to be -4. Well, this one is very easily set up for elimination because my y's already have same coefficient with opposite signs. So now I can go ahead and add down the columns. X plus x is going to give me 2x. Y minus y is going to cancel out. 12 minus 4 is going to give me 8. Divide both sides by 2, and I get that x is equal to 4. So one of the 2 numbers is 4. And now I'm going to plug it back in for x. So I have 4 plus y is equal to 12. So I just plugged it in for x right there. So I'm going to go ahead and subtract 4 from both sides, and I get that y is equal to 8 when we take 12 and subtract off 4. So those are both your answers for number 2. So let's take a look at number 3. At the store, a toothbrush costs X dollars and a bar of soap costs Y dollars. One customer bought 2 toothbrushes and 1 bar of soap for $11. So let's go ahead and let's set up that customer. So 2 toothbrushes at price X and 1 bar of soap at price Y, and that was equal to $11. Another customer bought 6 toothbrushes at price X and 5 bars of soap at price Y, and that was equal to $38. So I notice on here that I don't have any opposite signs or same numbers. So I'm going to have to create same numbers and opposite signs. So I need to figure out what I need to multiply 5 by to get, or what I need to multiply 1 by to get the opposite of 5. Well, the opposite of 5 is negative 5. What do I need to multiply 1 by to get a negative 5? And that's going to be a negative 5. So I'm going to multiply everything in that top equation by a negative 5, including the thing on the other side of the equal sign. So then I have 6x plus 5y is equal to 38. So now I'm going to go ahead and add down the columns. So I get negative 10x plus 6x. That'll give me negative 4x. My y's are going to cancel. Negative 55 plus 38 is going to give me a negative 17. So it's okay getting a decimal on this one. So I'm going to divide both sides by a negative 4, and I get that x is equal to $4.25. Now remember that x represents toothbrushes. So I want to make sure that I somehow let who's ever looking at it know that that's the price for toothbrushes. One of our original equations was 2x plus y is equal to 11. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that x out, and I'm going to put 4.25 in instead. Then plus y is equal to 11. So 4.25 times 2 is going to give me 8.5 plus y is equal to 11. So that's a positive 8.5. So to get it over to the other side, I need to subtract 8.5. And then I end up getting that y is equal to 11 minus 8.5, which is $2.50. So it's $2.50 for a bar of soap. Okay, so that represents a bar of soap. Flipping the page over, let's go ahead and let's take a look at number 4. So it says the sum of two numbers is the same as 4 times the smaller number. So the sum of two numbers, so x plus y, is the same as 4 times the smaller number. I'm just going to have x represent the smaller number, so I set it equal to 4 times the smaller number. If twice the larger, so that's going to be 2 times the larger number, so that's going to be 2y, is decrease means minus, by the smaller, that means x, the result is 30. And then it asks us to find the numbers. So before we can solve this, we need to get everything in standard form. So to start off with, I am going to take this equation and I'm going to solve it for to get my x's on the same side. So I'm going to go ahead and subtract x from both sides. So then here I get negative 3x plus y is equal to 0. Now for this equation, I'm going to flip it around. So I have negative x plus 2y is equal to 30. So all I did was flip these two around so that my x could be lined up in columns together. So now we need to figure out how we are going to use elimination. Well, I'm going to take this and I'm actually going to multiply this to get my x's to be opposite. So I notice that they're both negative, so I'm going to have to multiply a negative to switch those signs. And then I notice that in order for me to get a positive same coefficient for this x, I need to multiply that equation by a negative 3. So the top one is going to stay negative 3x plus 0, but then the bottom one is going to become positive 3x minus 6y, and that's going to be equal to 30 times a negative 3, which is a negative 90. So here, my x's are going to cancel out, and I'm going to end up getting a negative 5y is equal to a negative 90. So then I'm going to divide both sides by a negative 5, and I end up getting that y is equal to, 18. So that's one of my numbers, is that y is equal to 18. So I'm going to go ahead and plug that into one of my originals. So negative x plus 2 times 18 is equal to 30. Okay, so 2 times 18 is going to give me 36. So I get negative x minus 36, plus 36 is equal to 30. So now I'm going to subtract 36 from both sides. And then I end up getting negative x is equal to negative 6. So to solve for x, I need to divide both sides by a negative 1. And that will give me that x is equal to 6. So my two numbers are 6 and 18. Next, let's take a look at numbers 5. So for number 5, it says a shipment of TVs weighing how many types of each TV? Freaking out. I think it's good now. So first of all, we have a total. We're going to let X represent the 30-pound TVs, Y represent the 50-pound. Together, when you add them up, there's going to be 20 TVs. For every X 30-pound TV, it's going to weigh, guess what, 30 pounds. For every Y 50-pound TV, it's going to weigh, guess what, 50 pounds. And that's going to be equal to weighing 880 pounds. So now I need to figure out how I can use elimination. So I'm going to look at my X's. So I have 30, positive 30, and I need to ask myself, what's the opposite of positive 30? Well, the opposite of positive 30 is negative 30. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and multiply each of those by negative 30, because that's how I can take 1 and multiply to negative 30. So then I get negative 30x plus or minus 30y is equal to a negative 600. And then the other equation is positive 30x plus 50y is equal to 880. So now we're going to go ahead and add down the columns. So that's going to go ahead and cancel out. Negative 30 plus 50 is going to give me 20y. 880 minus 600 is going to give me 280. So now that 20 is being multiplied by y, so to solve for y, I'm going to divide both sides by 20, and I get that y is equal to 14. Now remember that y represents 50-pound TVs, so I want to label that 50-pound TVs. So now I need to plug it back in for y to get my x. So I remember that I have that equation x plus y is equal to 20. So what I'm going to do is, instead of writing x plus y, I'm going to write x plus 14, since y is equal to 14, and that's equal to 20. So now I'm going to go ahead and subtract 14 from both sides, and I get that x is equal to 6. And I have 30-pound TVs. Okay? So there's 14 50-pound TVs and 6 30-pound TVs. Let's take a look at that last one. Twice a number minus a second number is negative 1. So I'm going to let x represent that first number, y represent that second number. So let's go ahead and set that up. Twice that number, that's the same as 2 times that number, minus the second number is negative 1. And then it says twice the second number, so that's 2 times the second number, added to 3 times the first number, so that's 3 times the first number is 9. And now it wants us to find the two numbers. So we can't write down the columns right now, because I need to flip these around so I can get a better look. So my top equation is going to stay the same. My second equation, I'm going to flip the numbers around. So I see that my y's already have opposite signs. So now all I have to do is figure out what I need to do to give them the same number. So what do I need to multiply a negative 1 by to get a negative 2? Well, I just need to multiply it by 2. So I'm going to multiply that first equation by 2. So I get 4x minus 2y is equal to negative 2. And then I get 3x plus 2y is equal to 9. Forgot that up here. So now I'm going to go ahead and add down the columns. 3x plus 4x is 7x. My y's are going to cancel because I have negative 2y plus y, and negative 2 plus 9 is going to be 7. So I'm going to divide both sides by x, or by 7, sorry, and I get that x is equal to 1. So my first number is 1. Now if you remember way back in the beginning, I had the equation 3x plus 2y is equal to 9. So now instead of writing 3x, I'm going to write 3 times 1 since they mean the same thing. So 3 times 1 plus 2y is equal to 9. So 3 plus 2y is equal to 9. So that's a positive 3. So to get over to the other side, I'm going to subtract 3. And then I get that 2y is equal to 6. So now I'm going to divide both sides by 2, and I get that y is equal to 3. So y is equal to 3 for one of that final answer, and that concludes your note video for today. Thanks for listening.